So for those that are on here, we really appreciate you being here with us today. Excuse me. Super excited to introduce you to Jeff Fassett. You can see by his title, he's not only a vice president, he's also a wizard. So he's going to explain to this group how to use our really cool technology, our sign supply wizard. So he'll do some demos and walk you through that. So with that being said, I will mute myself. Again, please put your questions in that chat box if you have them. And then hopefully we have a bit of time at the end of this as well for any Q&A. So. All right.
Heather, thank you very much. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining today. Yeah, I run the Wizard products here at Principal, and this includes LED Wizard, Sign Wizard, and Neon Wizard. If you've been around for a while, those products have been out for about 30 years now. And of course, the Easy Layout Builder online version on the Principal website. And the newest wizard here, Sign Supply Wizard. So I'm excited to show this to you today. It's a product that has been out for a couple of months that we developed with Glantz, and it's an online tool that will estimate materials and enable you to put materials directly into the Glantz shopping cart. So I'm going to go through just a few PowerPoint slides. And then we'll get straight into the software, and I'll do a demo of a channel letter set. So what is it? The Glantz Sign Supply Wizard. It's a lot of things. An online layout and estimation tool for nearly all of the job materials needed for a standard channel letter and or sign cabinet job. So it's several explanations here, several things I'll kind of explain in a little more detail. This is integrated with nglantz.com, so that shops can create a layout, build a BOM, and purchase their materials directly through the shopping cart. So it's a workflow from the beginning to end, culminating with those products being in the shopping cart. It's a streamlined, job-focused, one-stop shop application to estimate and order materials. Job-focused, and that's one of the key differences. So this is based on the job. You enter the job, a channel letter set or a cabinet, and we give you the complete bill of materials. We estimate the quantities of each material, and it all goes in the BOM and in the cart. We also sometimes call it Easy Layout Builder on steroids. So if you're familiar with our Easy Layout Builder on the Principal website, that is for LEDs and drivers. And the Glantz Sign Supply Wizard is also about acrylic and polycarb and flex face, and channel letter return and trim cap and backers, and raceways and paint and why, and it goes on and on, right? So all of the materials now that we're estimating, and we do this through calculating area, calculating perimeter, doing nesting, and also doing filtering of all the products in the Glantz database, and I'll show you that here in a second. So that's kind of what it is. And in terms of what's in it for you, so it's a streamlined estimating and ordering workflow. Okay, and you select the products and we do the math. And that's a really important thing about how this works. So when you create your job and you select materials, there's a calculate button. And that calculate button will tell you how many feet, how many square feet, how many rolls, how many sheets, how many, depending on what the product is. So we have the listing of the products that I'll show you in a minute, more or less ordered from faces to backs. And when you build that BOM, the final step is to put it right into the cart. So there are some elements of this that should be very familiar to an Easy Layout customer. And then there are other things that should be very familiar to a Glantz e-com customer. And if you're both, then I think it ought to be easy for you to get through. So the second point, better logistics and cost management. Our estimates are in some cases to the second or third decimal point, very specific in terms of the numbers and the calculations, gives you an opportunity to order to the job. If you're not ordering by the job, if you're a larger shop and you order larger quantities, if you look over here on my example BOM here, we have actual usage, right? So we have orderable quantity and we have actual usage. So even if you order in large quantities, this system will still create a layout for you and tell you the actual usage of each product, right? So you think about cost accounting. Hey, did we make money on this job or not? Right? This is a system that will help you to do that. So you'll have a printed PDF of that job with all of the quantities that were estimated. End of the day, this is a tool to help you win more business. And we know from experience within Principal with Easy Layout Builder that the shop that quotes first is going to most often win that job, right? So the ability to go in here and get your estimate so that you can turn around and quote your customer and do that quickly is huge. So that's something that this tool offers. It gives you confidence in your estimates. Again, by the math that we're doing. If you want to override our math and you want to order more of something or less of something, then of course you can do that as well. So those are the things that I think are in it for you. And so in going into the demo, the site, of course, has actual Glance products. So everything that you see in Sign Supplied Wizard is orderable through Glance. We have a live inventory lookup for every product that'll tell you the quantity in each branch. And then when you get to the part of putting it into the cart, then we're going to show you your pricing. Okay. And that's your pricing. So when you see my pricing as a demo account, I get the worst pricing, right? So when you log in to your Glance account and when it looks up pricing, that's your pricing. So the workflow here, there are four steps, four essential steps here to the workflow. There's creating and defining the job, and that includes a unique job ID. There is step two, add products, which is selecting, calculating, and adding the materials, and this is where we'll spend the most time. There's the display and the view of the bill of materials, gives you an opportunity to see everything and make sure it's correct before you add it into the cart, which is the last step, add to cart, create the PDF, and then get on with your day. Right. So this is a process that's going to be streamlined compared to, I think, how a lot of shops do it now. And once that bomb goes into the cart and those products are in the cart, you're completely in the Glance e-com system at that point. Okay. So you can continue shopping on the Glance website. You can shop on the Glance website prior to going into Sign Supply Wizard and then again after. So it's not like a linear thing. We're integrated, completely integrated with the Glance website, as I'll show you here in a second. So sometimes I go to this at the end. I'll just put it right here because I don't always make it back here. So in terms of getting help, so there's an email address, sswizard@nglance.com. If you have any issues, you can send an email to that address and someone will answer it. There's, of course, the Glance 866 number. On the landing page that I'm going to in a second, there's a quick start guide. That's a detailed written document about how to use the site. There will be this webinar that's recorded. There's a prior webinar that's recorded as well. And there's a help bar in the software, and I'll show you that. So as I move the mouse over certain parts of the website, then there's a helpline that tells you what that function does. And your Glance reps, Principal reps, Yorston reps know about this system, and our resources to you can help you understand it and get through it. And you can reach out to me directly. This is my email address and my phone number. Okay, so I'm going to go to my browser and I'm going to start here right on the Glance homepage. Are there any questions before I continue? I'll pause for a sec. A lot of times I don't stop talking.
I don't see any so far, Jeff, so I think we're
Okay,
good.
cool. All right, terrific. So here's the Glance homepage, and you can see the banner that goes across here that has the link to the webinar today. And there's this Sign Supply Wizard line here, right in this red ribbon up here. So if you click on that, that's going to take you to this Sign Supply Wizard landing page. And this is where you can watch our 1-minute video. It's not really a demo video, it just kind of goes through it in a hurry. And then there's the original launch webinar that we did, which will be similar to today, maybe a little bit longer. And that is linked here. And then there is the quick start guide. And again, I don't know what that is, maybe a dozen pages or so going through the workflow. And this link right here is the link to actually get to the Science Supply Wizard application. Okay, so when I click on that, now we're loading and it's asking me to sign in. And so you have to be signed in and you have to have a Glance ID in order to use the application. Okay, so and also if you are idle for about 10 or 15 minutes, somewhere in that range, then you're going to be asked to log in again. Okay, and if that happens, and if you're in the middle of a job, then that job will be saved. Okay, so this is my last job. So this was my test run through of what I want to show you today. And I up here is my cart, and my cart is currently empty. So you can put multiple jobs in the cart, and you can keep putting things in the cart, or you can clear the cart out. Right now, my cart is empty, so everything that I put in the cart from this job will be fresh into the cart. So I'm going to go to, I'm on this step one, create job, and I'm going to click on new job. And I'm going to type a random number because I'm not a real shop. And there's also an interface here for letter sets and cabinet sets. So if you have multiple sets of a letter set, multiple meaning everything's exactly the same, then you can put in multiple quantities here, and then our calculations will roll up to that. This is not multiple sizes, it's not different fonts and things like that. It would be exact copies. So I'm going to keep that at 1 for now for simplicity. And here is what the basic interface looks like. Here's my preview window, which is empty because I haven't put anything in yet. And here's my interface here for letters and for cabinets. Right, and again, if you're an easy layout user, this should be familiar. This is actually quite a bit simplified from the easy layout because we're not doing an LED layout right up front. We're just putting in the text, or here we're defining the cabinet. All right, so I'm going to do face lit. We can also do halo lit, and I'm making my size 36 inches. I'm going to stay with a standard 5-inch depth. There's a huge depth range, of course. And then for font, I'm bored of Helvetica Bold, so I'm going to do this great font Rockwell, nice strong serif bold font Rockwell, and my text is going to say Science Supply Wizard. And I'm going to click on Create, and when I do Create and I scroll back up, it gives me my render preview. Okay, so as I add products in the system, this render will update. Okay, and we'll see that as we go through the products. So that's it for the create job. There are 2 buttons here. One is my job, so that'll be my job history. So every time that you create a job with a job number, it's going to go in your jobs list, and that's going to keep a running list of all your jobs. There's also a favorites button, and I will click on this because if you're a Glantz Ecom user and you have favorites, then you can import those favorites into Science Supply Wizard. Okay, so excuse me, all of the products that you currently have as favorites you can import. You just do that by clicking import. I don't have any new ones to import, but let's say that I had some vinyls, then it would add them to the favorites list. Okay, and I'll show you what that looks like in a second. And you can also create favorites in Science Supply Wizard. So you can start with your Glance favorites and then you can add your favorites in Science Supply Wizard. So let's go to step 2, add products. And here, so this is I mentioned the help line here. So right above here where it says clear the filters. So as I move my mouse around, you can see that the help button, the help line here will give me information about the options that I'm hovering over. So here in add products, this is my product category list, and I mentioned some of these at the beginning. It's a good list of products, and this is how they're ordered. So as you go through, the intent of the list is, it's more or less sequential. And if you click the arrows this way, then that's how you can go from category to category. And it's a good way to make sure that you don't miss anything or forget anything. And then down here on the left side, we have the filters, right? So these should be very familiar to you from the Glantz ecom site. So, we have the usual brand, we have type, color, width, size. So, of course, these filters will depend on what the product category is. So I'm here on acrylic, and right now I don't have any filters, right? So I have in batches of 25 products, I have 5 pages. So I guess it's not too bad. Wait till we get to vinyl. So I have 5 pages of products. I want to use some filters to help narrow down. But before I do that, the I have the favorite up here, right? So this is a favorite that either I've imported or that I've created here in Science Supply Wizard, and that has a heart on it. Okay, let's use something different. So I'm going to search for my brand is going to be Chemcast. My size, I want to do 48 by 96. I'm going to keep this very standard. And I want to do my color is going to be, all right, scroll up here. We have multiple scrolls going on at the same time. White 7328. Okay, and you can see that my list has been edited down quite a bit. So I will do, it's all right, we can do this one. And so this is a little bit of a thicker acrylic, so it's not as common. So there's no inventory, and this was my inventory lookup. And just note that because something is not in inventory, um, doesn't mean that you can't order it, right? So Glance will be in touch, or they will make it available to you through the logistics that I don't understand. But if there's a zero inventory, it does not mean that you cannot order that product. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this one, and this already had the quantity in there. I must have inadvertently clicked on it, I guess. So we show a little bit of math here, and we're giving a 6 sheets total on this one. Okay, so given our nesting routine, and then I'm going to click on add, and that now goes into the BOM, and it says step 3 view BOM. It has a 1 in the parentheses. Okay, so that means I have one product now in the BOM. Okay. If I want to change the quantity, I can do that here. I can say I want a couple more, I want a couple less. And I also want to call your attention to the brightness field right here. So we have 3 levels of brightness, and this has to do with the LED layout. So standard brightness is for, say, a 7328. That is our standard density guidelines for our modules. If I wanted to do HO, as you see up here, HO is about 20 to 25% brighter. And HO will automatically be triggered if you select a colored acrylic, a polycarb, or a flex face. That's going to go to HO. It's going to be a little bit brighter. HO plus is really reserved for day, night, and perf vinyls, where you really have to put a lot of light through those. So that's about 50%, 40 to 50% additional brightness. And so for most channel letter layouts, that means we're tightening up the modules. For a cabinet layout, it usually means that we're tightening up the rows. Okay, so those are automatic depending on those face materials being selected, but you can also manually adjust that, right? So for example, you can do the layout and standard, and then you can say, I wonder what it looks like for HO. You can do an HO layout, and sometimes you can get a little bit more brightness, and it's the same quantity of bags that you're ordering. So from that standpoint, it wouldn't necessarily cost you more to get a little bit of a brighter layout. So that's what these brightness options are. Okay, so let me move on to vinyl. And here again, I have a favorite right up top. So 33 red is my favorite. This is a 48 inch because I have a 48-inch cutter, right? So that is sometimes you can have filters in here depending on the equipment that you have. So let's say I'm always going to buy a 48-inch, and this is a 50-yard, and I'm checking inventory, and I'm going to click on calc. So I have 15 and a half yards out of a 50-yard roll. So that's going to be one roll. Now, if I wanted to buy two 10-yard rolls, that's no problem. I could do that. In which case, over here for length, I could just filter on 10 yards. And I could also filter on red and vinyl is a good category to do some filtering because here's 23 pages of vinyl at 25 vinyls per page. So I'm taking a shortcut because I have a favorite. All right, I'm going to click on add, and then up here in my render, I now have my face as being red. And so let's continue. So I will actually skip polycarb, but I'll just note that polycarb is in here as sheets and real stock. And then we also have flexible face substrates here. So if anything gets really big, then this would be an option for letters as well. And I'm going to skip over that. And I'm going to go to trim cap. And so we have Gemini and we have Vidon and we have Glantz preferred suppliers. So in this case, three brands. I like to do a trim cap that's nice and bright so that I can see it on my layout. I don't think anyone would use bright green like I'm going to, but I'm going to go ahead and calculate. And so I got 258 feet, right? And that is the outside perimeter of my letters. And that comes in as two rolls. That's how I'm going to click on add. So remember that it's a two-step process. First step is to calculate. And maybe when you calculate, like I did for vinyl, you might change the product that you buy based on what that calculation gives you. So calculate and add. And my return coil. So again, I'm going to keep this pretty simple. There's two brands, and this is going to be gloss black is what I'll use. And you might note that I have 5.3 inches and 5 inches already checked in size, right? So we're already filtering. We're not going to show you a 3-inch or 4-inch return on your 5-inch letters, right? So we're already filtering by 5 inches. So that's a little bit of a help. Click on calc. So I get the same 258 feet, but because return coil comes on a 270-foot roll, I'm one roll. So that's perfect. And let's add that. And remember that when I get to the BOM, we'll see those actual quantities along with the orderable. All right, so here's my render. I have my green trim cap. Perfect. So my next category is LEDs. And this interface is a little bit different from Easy Layout Builder, but still you can filter by series, by voltage, and by color. So I will filter by red. And we have a lot of red modules. So I'll further filter here by 24 volt. And now I'm into Prism Synergy Mini and Spec and Prism 24 and the Hanley Phoenix NRG Pro. Okay, so I'm going to select the Synergy Spec Red and do my calculation there. So I'm actually creating the LED layout now. And we do a nice render. So you have to kind of zoom in a little bit when you have a color like this. You have red LEDs on my red face there. So that's my layout. And that's a standard layout. So I'm in for two bags. So 184 modules is 108 modules per bag. And I will add that to my BOM. And I will continue on to my driver. And I just want to note here, this is an upgrade from Easy Layout Builder. Actually, we have a max driver loading percentage. And if you're familiar with our products, you know that our drivers load up to 100%. But sometimes a shop might not want to load to 100%. So you can select your load percentage. And I'll actually, just for the exercise, I want to load to 80%. And I noticed when I was running through this before as my warm-up that this gives me 3 drivers, but it's not very well balanced, right? My third driver only has 10%. And so now you can come back and say, why don't I load to 90%? So I did a calc, I haven't added it yet. Now I'm going to calc again at loading to 90%. And I'm just going to get two drivers here, right?
And
So
Jeff,
that's a that's a good edit there to get down to two drivers.
we do have a question.
Mhm.
Can you explain why a shop may not want to load to 100%?
Well, I think it just runs the driver a little bit harder. That 90% is somewhat standard, 80% is somewhat standard. We do design our drivers to load to 100%, and it's built in to do that. So we've always actually done it to 100%, but we just got feedback from shops who are more comfortable driving a little lower, and so now we have this option. And this option actually, if you go even lower, depending on your job and how many drivers you have, you can actually load balance a little bit by running this number lower. But from our standpoint, again, they're designed to run to 100%. So I do think most of the time that shops are doing it to 100%. Okay, so I'm going to add those two, and so now let's see a couple more things. So I want to do a backer, and so we have aluminum sheets here. We also have B bond. B bond is listed here um, separately. So that's what I'm going to use, and I'll do this one here. And if I'm using the same size sheet, then my backer quantity and my face quantity should be the same, and that's 6 sheets. So that's correct. I'm going to add that. And by the way, I haven't done this yet, but to add a favorite, I just click on the heart here, right? So the next time that I come in, this will be listed at the top. So all the favorites are listed up at the top. All right, so now to one of my favorite products here, we have SignComp Raceways, and these are 4 different bundles of raceways, and there are a couple of optional accessories that I will show you in the BOM. So let's do the narrow, and raceway is actually a category that we're not automatically calculating. We could, but so for example, here on Science Supply Wizard, the we can get two we can get two raceways here, but if your kerning is looser than ours here, which it might be, then you might have to go to 3, right? Or if you want to do one per letter or one per word, I'm sorry, then you might end up with 3. So we like you to go ahead and punch in that value on your own. I'm just going to put in 2, and I'm going to say add. Now we do have, again, these additional accessories I'll show you here in a minute. So I now have 8 products in my BOM. I have a couple more categories. I'm not going to continue down all of these, but of course we have paint, and paint is another category that has a million options, as you can see by the numbers here. So that's also a manual calculation. We're not calculating paint. Too difficult to calculate gallons of paint. There's also adhesives, and there are several adhesives here, and there are toggle switches, and there's wire. So that is pretty much rounds out the product options. So I'm going to click now on step 3. Oh, and here's my render with the raceway, right? Just a rectangle that goes right across the middle, a light gray rectangle. So that's how we render the raceway. But I'll go to step 3 now and say view BOM. And when I scroll down here, so here's everything that I've added. It's in a neat table. So we have the orderable quantity, as I mentioned, and the actual usage, right? So these are listed next to each other. You can take something out of the BOM here, and then down here with the raceway, we have 4 different accessories, okay? We have the end caps, so I can add in, and we actually have 4 end caps because we did 2 raceways. And then we have the brackets, and there's 10 of those per section, so we have 20. And then we have the splice connector. So there's 2 splice connectors for the 2 raceways. Again, if I was doing that in 3 different ones, then this would be 4 splice connectors. So there's 2 splice connectors per 2 raceways coming together. And then my large mounting clips, that's also 20. So add accessory. So I've now added all those items to the BOM as well. Okay. So if at this point I forgot something or I want to go back or change my mind or something, I can go backwards back to step two and add something else and it'll update the BOM. But if I like this and this is what I want, then I click on add to cart. And when I do add to cart, two things happen. First of all, we generate the PDF, which it's doing now, and I'll show you that render. And then it's also adding all of my products into the cart. Okay, so I had 8 products before, and then I added the 4 raceway accessories. Now I have 12. And this is when you get all the pricing, right? So you get the pricing roll up. So here's my PDF, and I'll actually download this. So we don't email, we just download it, let you download it. It's more direct and more immediate than emailing. So here's what the PDF looks like. And I show it here because it's just a little bit bigger. My front page shows the layout. It has basic summary information about the job. It has all the logos of all the brands that you've selected for your job. The second page has the details and the power supplies, and it shows the power supply loading, which is nice. So you can see what letters go on which driver. And then the third page is the bill of materials. And so this is all the detail. It has the Glantz code here, orderable quantity, size if applicable, again, and the actual usage. All right, so let me go back and let me just now go to my cart. And once I go to my cart, I'm in the Glantz ecom system now. And so my all of my materials are in here. Just like it had I shopped on the Glantz site outside of Sign Supply Wizard, I'm at the same point now. I can change quantities, I can add a note, I can remove something. It gives me all the pricing, right? And it's going to roll all this up to the bottom to give me a total. So from here, I can go next and I can purchase these materials, or you can do what I do, which is save for later. And this now saves it into the Glantz system. Okay, so if I click on view order, it will bring up this order acknowledgement, and it has everything listed, again, in a nice, easy to read format there. We have, if you then go up here to files, this is the actual PDF that we created, right? So that gets saved with your order in the Glantz system. We also, as I said at the beginning, save the job. So back in Sign Supply Wizard on that first page, we have the job saved there as well. So that's 2 ways for you to get back to the job. So if you do this job in Sign Supply Wizard and you then take these estimates and these materials and you make your quote, and then next week you sell that job, then you can come back in and either pick it up here or you can pick it up back in Sign Supply Wizard. Let's say that you want to add something to it. You decide you want to put paint in there, which I had skipped. Then you can go back, you can open up the job, you can edit it, and go forward and add additional products. So I'm going to click down here on back to store. And there's a shortcut to get back to Sign Supply Wizard. So you could do it here, which takes you to the landing page, or you can do it down here, and this brings you back in. So I just did a channel letter job. You can also do a sign cabinet. And in the interest of time, I could do a cabinet, or if there's questions and discussion, then we can do that. How much time did we have for the webinar, Heather?
Oh,
You think 30
typically we
minutes?
try to keep it to 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So
In which case I ran over by 4
it's
minutes.
okay. Yes.
So are there any questions, anything from the chat or any questions that anybody has?
So we do have one from Byron, and yes, you do have to be logged in. In order to use Sign Supply Wizard, you have to be logged into your account. So Byron, if you're having troubles with that, you may have been timed out. So I would suggest going back up, relogging back in, and then it should let you use the tool. That tends to be our biggest issue is the timeout.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you're halfway through a job, then we will save it. So here, if I click on my jobs, here's my job listing, right? And so here's the job that I just did. So if it's already open, but if I click load, then that would open it up. And of course, I have my millions of test jobs. So it's a great way to save something. Maybe that job comes back up in 6 months or a year, or you have another location or something, then it's easy to go back and open up that job.
We had a lot of questions, Jeff, around custom art. So
Hmm.
I know we've talked about it and we basically, Pat said we don't have it now, but it will be something in the future.
Yeah.
Do you want to touch on any of that?
Yeah, it is something that we want to add to the system. It does add, as you can imagine, quite a bit of complexity to make sure the art is clean and the art is properly scaled and et cetera, et cetera. So it's a it's a technical challenge for us to do that and do it in an easy way that'll work in the online system. But we are working on that, and it's something you can expect in the future.
Karen asked about the recording of this webinar. We will post that out on our site. It typically takes a little bit of time for it to kind of pull it all together, and then we will get that out on our site. So check back under events and they'll have that posting. What parameters are required for a cabinet besides length, width, depth, single, double face?
Here, so let me just really fast show you what the cabinet interface looks like because there actually are quite a few options in a cabinet. So there's obviously the height and the width, single-sided, double-sided, the type of layout. So we can face light, we can do a halo light layout, we can side light, or we can do hybrid. Hybrid is basically one inline of the shape and then parallel runs in between, either vertically or horizontally in between. So it's good for sort of odd shapes. And then can depth, and then again, orientation. So vertical or horizontally oriented in the rows. And there's also vertical and horizontal rotated. So if you have a cabinet that's rotated, so it's like this, then we'll lay it out like that instead of flat, right? So that's what vertical rotated or horizontal rotated. In terms of shapes, squares, rectangles, triangles, circles, ellipses, and polygons. Polygon is great because you can set the number of sides. You can also add a radius to a corner. And so I'll add a 6-inch radius. Um, so there's my six-sided polygon. If I wanted this to be, say, 96 by 96, so it's more of a regular, then you can do something like that. So actually quite a few different options. You have the option of a center pole as well, which requires that you do a vertical layout. And so you can define the center pole and the width of the center pole. So quite a few options for cabinets, and it is pretty easy to go in here and do different options and actually more layout options really with cabinets than channel letters.
Okay. Any other questions? We do have, like Jeff said, a couple of videos on our site. If you go to nglance.com and go to Sign Supply Wizard, there is that video that has a former recording and it goes into great detail. So if you leave this webinar and you want to kind of rewatch, feel free to use that. Um, any other final comments, Jeff?
No, I just want to thank everyone and encourage you to go on here and do a test job and poke around and go through the workflow, understand how it works, go all the way to the end so you see how it goes into the cart and everything. And then when a job comes up that's a standard letter set or a standard cabinet, according to the options that we have here, give it a try. And I think it's really going to help streamline and it gives you great data that I think is going to help with the estimating and the production process. So um, thanks everyone, and don't forget the resources to help. If you go in here and you get hung up somewhere, please reach out and give us a chance to help.
All right. Thank you so much, Jeff. Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and hopefully you can start using this tool real soon.
Thanks, Heather. Thanks,
Okay.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.